I never intended for it to happen. It wasn't a plan, a scheme, or even a longing desire. It was a collision of circumstances, a perfect storm that swept me away before I even realized what was happening. Let me introduce myself. My name is Emily, and I've been married to Felix for 5 years now. Our relationship had its ups and downs, like any marriage, but we always found a way to work through it. Felix was my rock, my confidant, my best friend. And then there was Mark, his best friend since college. Mark was charming in a way that made you forget your worries. His smile could light up a room, and his wit was sharp enough to keep you on your toes. He and Felix were inseparable, like brothers from another mother. And well, I couldn't deny that I found him attractive, but it was nothing more than a passing thought. A harmless admiration. It all started innocently enough. A dinner party at our place, good food, good wine, and even better company. Mark was his usual charming self, cracking jokes and making everyone laugh. As the night wore on and the wine flowed freely, I found myself drawn to him. His laughter infectious, his presence magnetic. Felix had to leave early for a work emergency, leaving Mark and me alone. We talked for hours about everything and nothing. And then, in a moment of vulnerability, our eyes met and something shifted between us. It was like a spark igniting, a fire, a silent understanding passing between us. I should have stopped it right then and there. I should have excused myself and gone to bed, but I didn't. Instead, I leaned in closer, drawn to him like a moth to a flame, and before I knew it, our lips met in a forbidden kiss, sending shockwaves through my body, and we spent the night together. The guilt hit me like a tidal wave the next morning. I avoided Mark like the plague, unable to look him in the eye, unable to face what we had done. But he sought me out, his expression a mix of regret and longing. "We can't do this," I whispered, my voice barely a breath. "I know," he replied, his voice hoarse with emotion, "but I can't stop thinking about you." And just like that, we were caught in a web of deceit and desire, unable to break free. We met in secret, stealing moments of passion amidst the chaos of our lives, and with each stolen kiss, each forbidden touch, the lines blurred even further until they disappeared all. Together, I knew what we were doing was wrong, that it was betraying everything I had ever believed. But in those stolen moments, I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years, a fire burning inside me that refused to be extinguished. But all good things must come to an end, and ours came crashing down around us in the most unexpected of ways. It was a Friday night, and Felix had planned a surprise dinner for us to celebrate our anniversary. I had completely forgotten about it, so wrapped up in my affair with Mark that everything else seemed insignificant. As I walked through the door, the smell of Felix's cooking wafting through the air, I felt a pang of guilt like never before. And then I saw the look on his face, a mixture of hurt and betrayal that cut me to the core. "I know," he said quietly, his voice barely audible above the din of the room. "I know about you and Mark." I felt the blood drain from my face as the truth hit me like a ton of bricks. How could he have known had I been so careless, so reckless in my pursuit of passion? "I'm sorry," I whispered, the words feeling hollow and empty. But it was too late for apologies. Too late to turn back the clock and undo the damage we had done. And as I watched Felix walk out the door, his shoulders slumped with defeat, I knew that I had lost the one person who had ever truly loved me. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. The aftermath of my betrayal hung heavy in the air, suffocating me with its guilt and shame. Felix had moved out, leaving me alone in our once happy home. Mark had vanished into thin air, his presence a painful reminder of everything I had lost. I tried to pick up the pieces of my shattered life, to move on from the wreckage I had created, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't escape. The memories that haunted me at every turn, the sound of Felix's laughter echoing through the Empty halls, the feel of his touch lingering on my skin, the warmth of his embrace that I so desperately craved. I threw myself into my work, burying myself in endless hours at the office in a futile attempt to numb the pain. But no amount of success could fill the void that had been left. In my heart, I was a shell of the woman I once was, hollow and empty, lost in a sea of regret and remorse. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I received a letter in the mail. It was from Felix, a single sheet of paper with his elegant handwriting scrawled across the page. My hands trembled as I read the words, each one cutting deeper than the last. Dear Emily, I don't know if you'll ever read this or if you even care anymore, but I needed to write it down to get it off my chest before it consumes me whole. I loved you. More than words could ever express with every fiber of my being, with every breath I took. And to have that love betrayed, to have my trust shattered into a million pieces. I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive you, but as much as it hurts, as much as I want to hate you for what you've done, I can't. Because deep down, I know that you're hurting too. That you're lost and confused and searching for something that you'll never find. And maybe, just maybe, that's punishment enough. I don't know what the future holds for either of us. Whether we'll find our way back to each other or if we're destined to go our separate ways. But I do know one thing. I'll always cherish the memories we shared. The laughter and the love that once filled our home. And no matter what happens, I'll always hold a piece of you in my heart. Goodbye, Emily. I hope you find the peace and happiness you so desperately seek. Yours always, Felix. Tears stream down my face as I read the letter. Each word a dagger to my already fragile heart. How could I have been so blind, so foolish to throw away the greatest love I had ever known? I crumpled to the floor, the weight of my guilt crushing me into oblivion, but amidst the darkness, a small glimmer of hope flickered to life. Maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late to make things right, to mend the broken pieces of our shattered marriage. With renewed determination, I picked myself up off the floor and set out to find Felix, to beg for his forgiveness and pray that he would give me another chance. I searched high and low, scouring every corner of the city in a desperate attempt to track him down. And just when I was about to give up hope, I received a phone call that would change everything. It was Mark. I heard about what happened, he said, his voice somber and remorseful. I'm so sorry, Emily. I never meant for any of this to happen. His words caught me off guard. The sincerity in his voice piercing through the fog of my despair. For the first time since the affair began, I saw Mark not as a forbidden lover, but as a friend who had made a terrible mistake. I need to find Felix, I said, my voice trembling with emotion. I need to make things right. I can help you, Mark replied, his tone filled with determination. I know where he is. And just like that, we set out on a journey to find the man I had wronged, the man I still loved with every beat of my broken heart. It wasn't easy, navigating the twists and turns of a love gone sour. But with Mark by my side, I knew that anything was possible. We traveled for days, following every lead and chasing every rumor until we finally arrived at our destination, a small town, nestled in the mountains, far away from the chaos of the city. And there, standing alone in the fading light of dusk, was Felix. He looked different somehow, changed by the passage of time and the weight of his grief, but his eyes still held the same spark of warmth and kindness that had drawn me to him all those years ago. And in that moment, I knew that I had to fight for him to prove that my love was worth fighting for. I stepped forward, my heart pounding in my chest, my hands trembling with fear and anticipation. And then, with a courage I didn't know I possessed, I spoke from the depths of my soul. I'm sorry, I said, the words flowing freely from my lips. I'm sorry for everything, for the pain I've caused you, for the trust I've betrayed. But please, Felix, please give me another chance. I love you more than anything in this world, and I'll do whatever it takes to make things right. For a moment there was silence, a deafening void that threatened to swallow me whole, and then, slowly but surely, a smile spread across Felix's face, a smile filled with forgiveness and hope. "I love you too, Emily," he said, his voice barely a whisper, "and I've missed you more than words can. Say." And in that moment, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the stars began to twinkle overhead, I knew that our journey was far from over, but with Felix by my side and Mark standing beside us, as a friend and confidant, I knew that we could weather any storm that came our way. And so we worked tirelessly to rebuild what we had lost. It wasn't easy navigating the rocky terrain of trust and forgiveness, but with each passing day, we grew stronger together. Felix and I spent countless hours talking, opening up to each other in ways we never had before. We laid bare our deepest fears and insecurities, our hopes and dreams for the future, and in those moments of vulnerability, we found solace in each other's arms, knowing that no matter what happened, we would always have each other. Mark, too, played a crucial role in our healing process. He stood by our side as a pillar of support, offering words of encouragement and wisdom when we needed them. And though the guilt of our past still weighed heavy on our hearts, we found comfort in the knowledge that we were not alone in our struggles. As the days turned into months, our bond grew stronger, forged in the fires of adversity and tempered by the passage of time. We laughed together, cried together, and shared moments of joy and sorrow that brought us closer than ever before. But amidst the chaos of rebuilding our marriage, there was still a lingering question that haunted me. What would become of my relationship with Mark, the man who had once been my forbidden lover, now stood before me as a friend and confidant, his presence a constant reminder of the mistakes we had made. I knew that I could never go back to the way things were, that the line between friendship and betrayal had been irreparably blurred, and yet I couldn't deny the connection that still existed between us, the bond that had been forged in the heat of passion and tempered by the cold light of day. One evening, as Felix and I sat together on the porch, watching the sun set over the horizon, I broached the subject that had been weighing heavily on my mind. "What do you think will become of Mark?" I asked quietly, my voice barely a whisper in the fading light. Felix turned to me, his expression thoughtful. "I don't know," he admitted, "but I do know that he cares about you, Emily, and whatever happens, I trust that you'll make the right decision." His words brought me a sense of comfort, a reassurance that no matter what the future held, we would face it together, united as one. And yet, the uncertainty still gnawed at the edges of my mind, threatening to consume me with its relentless grip. The following days passed in a blur of activity as we continued to rebuild our lives, one brick at a time, and yet no matter how hard I tried to push it aside, the question of my relationship with Mark continued to linger in the back of my mind. It wasn't until one fateful afternoon, as I sat alone in the park, lost in thought, that I finally came to a decision. I knew that I couldn't continue to live in limbo, trapped between the past and the present, haunted by the ghosts of my mistakes. And so, with a heavy heart and a sense of resolve, I sought out Mark, determined to put an end to the uncertainty once and for all. We met in a quiet corner of the park, away from prying eyes and curious ears, and as we sat together on the grass bathed in the golden light of the setting sun, I spoke from the depths of my soul. "I can't go on like this, Mark," I said, my voice trembling with emotion. "I can't continue to live in this limbo, caught between what was and what could be." Mark reached out and took my hand in his touch gentle and reassuring. "I understand, Emily," he said softly, "and whatever decision you make, I'll respect it. But know that no matter what happens, I'll always be here for you, as a friend and confidant." His words brought me a sense of peace, a reassurance that no matter what the future held, I wouldn't have to face it alone. And as we sat together in the fading light of day, I knew that I had finally found the closure I had been searching for. In the end, love is a complex and unpredictable thing, capable of bringing both joy and pain in equal measure, and though our journey had been fraught with challenges and obstacles, I wouldn't have traded it for anything in the world, for it was through those trials and tribulations that we had discovered the true meaning of love, the ability to forgive, to heal, and to grow stronger. Together, no matter what life threw our way, and as we walked hand in hand into the unknown, I knew that our love would be the guiding light that would lead us home time and time again. And that is how this story of infidelity ends, a very uncomfortable situation for me for having to play with the feelings of two people very dear to me. Sometimes life is not easy, and not being able to control our love makes it much more difficult. I would like to know what you would have done in my situation, or if something similar has happened to you in the past. It would comfort me to hear similar stories. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again very soon.